Now, when it comes to Drake and Kendrick Lamar, well, if you are ready to see how Drake is standing in Kendrick's shadow once again as he just tried to copy him with a Playboi Carti collab and it's terrible, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. We are almost 100 subs away from 100,000, so make sure that you help us reach that goal. And now really, as Kendrick Lamar's lyrics have never sounded more true with what we have just heard from Drake, make sure to leave that like so everyone can see what it looks like when your career is in the dumpster and it is never leaving it. And now with that said, well, currently with lame old Morgan Wallen lovin' Lawbury, well, the more and more we are seeing hip-hop move away from the Drake era and everything that made it such a horrible time for rap, the more funny Drake's entire downfall is turning out to be, as most recently, well now as Playboi Carti is in LA for the weekend's After Hours Till Dawn tour at SoFi Stadium, Carti is putting on multiple after parties after his opening set and the weekend's performance, and with this, in this time where there have been rumors and speculation from Carti, Swamp Izzo, and his entire team and label that they are going to be dropping another project before the end of the year. Well, seemingly we got one step closer to that, and Carti was teasing some new music for it, and with this, well, within this new batch of Carti music, we got to hear what the first ever song that Carti and Drake sounds like, where Carti is the lead artist, as opposed to a feature, whether that was from Pain 1993 or No Face After the Beef, which confusingly had Carti vocals on it to everybody's surprise. And now with what Swamp Izzo played of this record, while there is a lot of noise around this collab and what Drake and Carti can do, the record has actually ended up being the most mediocre thing you could have possibly drawn up, as from the production to Drake's whiny and tired out vocals and performance. Really, this record just sounds like it came from the worst part of Drake's creative drought and just offers nothing new besides the same old whiny, pathetic stuff. And really with this track, well now, while Playboi Carti and his team seemingly playing this song and even acknowledging Drake and maybe even showing that they are going to or are considering at the very least putting this record on their new album is a strange move, considering that Carti seemed to choose Kendrick Lamar's side for I Am Music and really make him the co-star of that record with 3 entire features. Well, we will get into that more in depth in a little, but now beyond whatever Carti is doing and who he wants to work and be cool with, because the guy isn't a lyricist or anything, so it really does not have that big of consequences. Well, more importantly, if we remember when I Am Music dropped and Academics lost it, that Kendrick was such a big part of the record, well, within one of the many rants of hip-hop's favorite basement dweller, what Academics and then all of the people from the worst parts of OVO and the Drake community tried to push as the narratives of the time, that of course they were just running with to do any sort of coping that they could, was that Drake and Carti's song, which is the one that we have seemingly just heard, was actually made during the For All the Dogs era and was left off the record, and then Carti showed Kendrick this song, he got hold of it, and then he loved it so much he decided to copy it and make Luther as a result, which then of course Drake and OVO and all those guys tried to then push this narrative over and over again to then say that, well, if Luther is a massive song and a chart topper that not even Nokia could catch, well, of course, as Drake can do no wrong, the song is only successful because Kendrick Lamar got it and copied the idea from him. But let's just be real here. Now again, shocker, it's not surprising to think that Academics was lying about all of this, but now we can actually say and know for 100% certainty when we really hear this song, and let's just break it down. It's honestly disrespectful to even compare it to Luther, because the song does not even sample Luther Vandross directly, but samples Slow Jams, which has a sample from Luther within the already made loop that they just put basic trap drums over, and that's really the only thing they did to this song to make it stand out. And again, when you just see that this song is Slow Jams with trap drums, and then they are trying to compare it to Luther, every single thing that you see is not just a bold-faced lie. But to be quite honest with what Academics and OVO tried to do, to really try and compare a song that Drake and Carti made, which really just copied off the sample beat trend that was so prevalent before Kendrick Lamar dropped like that, and in all honesty, they just tried to make a massive song off of the work of another artist's success. Again, and I stand in this, to compare it to a record like Luther, which builds itself as an original ballad between Kendrick and SZA, which is grounded through an amazing sample of the great Luther Vandross, who is truly one of the greatest voices music has ever seen. I mean, this is just blasphemous, and it shows how the desperate people on the side of OVO won't even think twice before they push out any single narrative to help out lame old Lawbury. And now while this gets much worse, before we go any further, I gotta ask, have you ever found yourself wondering whether a message or somebody trying to reach you was real or a scam? For me, I have kept having this problem recently where as I am waiting for a very important call, I just keep getting bothered by unknown numbers, and as this kept happening, I realized that my number was out there so easily. And if you have ever had this problem and wanted to take action, today's sponsor Aura is here to help you. Aura is a service that protects your identity, data, and sensitive information, and by using their data broker opt-out feature, I have not been getting annoyed with scam calls and text messages because with this feature, Aura will help remove your personal information from data brokers and people search sites that can sell your info to identity thieves, scammers, and more, and now making Aura even more helpful for me. From their personal VPNs, which protects my connection and blocks scamming and phishing sites, to their password manager, which stores all of my passwords conveniently and securely. Aura helps me stay organized and secure online, and all your data is safeguarded using the same security standards as banks. And plus, Aura will never sell your data to third parties. I'm not leaving myself and my family vulnerable to data breachers and brokers, and if you don't want to either, you can go to aura.com/fantastichiphop to try 2 weeks for free. That will be enough time for Aura to find out if any of your personal data is exposed. And so thank you to Aura for sponsoring this video. And so now back to Drake and Carti's trash collaboration, which they tried to say Kendrick got the idea and mold for Luther from. I just can't believe that there are real people in hip-hop who tried to push this narrative across, but now beyond academics' take looking more wrong than ever and the entire rap world seeing what this record actually is, which is just trash, well now in the bigger sense, beyond the song being made and the origin of it coming from creative grifting over everything else, what we also now could say is that after Carti ended up being dissed by Drake as he was on the list that 50 Cent showed off and that Kendrick Lamar referenced on Carti's own album and song, and of course Carti was also infamously unfollowed by Drake as well when he was mad at multiple major names and just really didn't want to hear any of them again. Well, seemingly after all of this and after a time in hip-hop where a lot of the cloud chasers like Travis Scott for example are off the wave of the beef and are already trying to show support for Drake in many ways, well in context of all of that, Carti playing this move does seem strange in a way when you think about how close he got to Kendrick and how he was one of the 3 special guests throughout the entirety of Kendrick Lamar's Grand National Tour alongside Baby Keem and AZ Chike so far. And now also with this, as Carti is on tour with The Weeknd, who really outside of Kendrick Lamar is the realest person in terms of standing in this beef and what he feels about Drake, and even more than most rappers from this time, well again, if Carti was actually linking up with Drake, it would just seem very odd and like a betrayal to the people who have done a lot for his career, especially in The Weeknd and also Kendrick Lamar. But now when you think about what Carti was doing in the context of all of that and just see how Carti has been moving in general, I don't actually think Carti is switching sides, or as Drake would say, he is a part of the infamous backpedalers or whatever they like to call it. Because for Carti, even beyond Kendrick, seeing him support the guy he is touring with in The Weeknd has more problems with because of, and really that OVO and XO beef is serious because of where they are and the type of people around them. Ultimately, this would all just seem very disrespectful, and to be honest, well now if Playboi Carti played this Drake song and it was an incredible record that was gonna go viral, it could be a different story and Carti could have just given Drake the push that he needed to try and get any sort of momentum. Well, of course, as this was not the case and Carti played this record and it is so mid, and even for Carti fans and people who like him, they are just clowning how lame and boring the song is, and especially Drake's performance and how we have heard all of this on Drake's last albums over and over again stylistically. Well, really, as everybody is seeing that Drake is an artistic fraud, he has swung and missed again, because from Kendrick Lamar's collabs being compared to this one he just did with Carti in this moment, which really, if we look at those, it really makes all 3 of the tracks that Kendrick did look like masterpieces. And then, of course, due to the narrative mess that academics created when he tried to say that Luther was stolen from Drake. Well, overall, with Playboi Carti putting out this infamous Drake record for everyone to hear, and then it just ending up being a sample bait version of slow jams where Drake is putting listeners to sleep with how dull and unenthusiastic his vocals just screech over such a plain instrumental in terms of having no originality or innovation. Well, really, Drake is once again being seen as a straight-up loser for all this, and somebody who, no matter what, does not bring any original ideas to the table whatsoever, and that's what's really sticking here, because with this moment, however it is being looked at, everybody is seeing that whether it was before the beef, after the beef, or right within this very moment, Drake is just a bad rapper and artist, and has been for a while now, because he did turn into a one-trick pony, and outside from the gimmicky song that got big, everything else he has pretty much made has sounded like this, which is just a bad vibe. And to be honest, the more you think about this song, the more it feels like Swamp Izzo and Carti almost just played it to clown Drake and show off how bad it is, because there is no way compared to some of the stuff that Carti just pulled off on I Am Music, and even with what he is learning from opening up for The Weeknd in stadiums, which again, and I have seen the show, you see when a rapper or any artist artist for that matter does these types of venues, they learn how to play music differently and try to transcend to a bigger and more wide audience. Really, there is no way that Carti is on a record-breaking run and then he thinks that this horrible Drake song is going to be what is needed next to move his career forward, unless he is just trying to throw a project out of obligation. But again, as Carti is really trying to enter this next era strong, it seems like this is not the case. So overall, as we now see Kendrick Lamar and Drake work with the same artist, all of the noise around their respective collabs, and then see the results of one compared to the other. We'll cue the line from Hey Now again, because truly when it comes to Kendrick Lamar and everything he is doing in this era, there is just no comparison, especially somebody who in Drake's case has done absolutely nothing original in so long and who is just coming with more and more mid as the rap game gets tougher and tougher. And so at this point, Drake's just got to get out of here because there is no way he can keep coming with trash like this, and that's really all I have to say. And now with all of this said, let me know. What do you think about Drake and Carti's new collab? How do you think this record was made? Do you think Carti is going to release it? And how do you think this compares to Luther or anything that Kendrick and Carti did together as a whole? Well, I can't wait to hear what you have to say about all of this. And now if you made it to this point in the video, be sure to leave that like and subscribe. It helps me out a ton. And now if you want to see how right before this, well, things for Drake just got even worse as Pusha T just exposed an absolutely awful story about what Drake was trying to do to avoid his track with Kendrick Lamar coming out, and because of this, Drake has really never held up that name Lawbury more. Check out the suggested video.